Welcome to Autonomy Quest. Tonight, we're going to talk to Autonomy graduates and get to know each other a little bit. We're going to play some clips and hear from our featured graduate, and then we're going to have some discussions together. I also have a few gifts that I'm going to be handing out at the end of this call, so please stay tuned for that. We also may have a visit from Richard tonight, so that's going to be very exciting. And I am Ashley. I will be your host. I'm a season 10 graduate, and I'm very happy to be here with all of you and for this opportunity. Tonight's featured guest is Ron Renaud, a season 8 graduate. And we're going to learn about Ron's journey and his experience with autonomy. And before we do that, we have a couple of brief clips that we're going to show. And the other thing that I wanted to make sure to let you know is that when and if you make the decision to join autonomy, you're going to be given as a free gift Ron's class on accountability, which is an excellent 4-part class. So that is an added gift that you are going to be given. So first of all, bear with me while I do the screen share thing, and we're going to have a couple of clips, and then we're going to get into it.
All right, coaches, we got to have a conversation here. It just struck me. I don't know, it hit me like a ton of bricks. You and I, boy, we are of the luckiest SOBs out there in the world. You know, somebody just corrected me when I said we're like of the 0.1%. We're probably like more like the 0.001%. You know what we do for a living? We get to have meaningful conversations with people where they tell us everything about their lives to help us pick through and sort through the brilliance and the stupidity and the bad habits and the stuff that it really works for them that they don't value very much. We get to be their priest and prophet and ally and ass kicker and truth teller and sometimes, stone in the shoe to wake them up and help them live their version of what I say is an uncompromised life. You call it whatever the hell you want, but to live their lives on their terms. This is what you do for a living, or this is what you do part-time, or this is what you do as part of your job, is to help people, is to have these conversations and help people live better. I mean, you look back in history and think about people who had to be coal miners or, you know, even the vast majority of people who do all sorts of jobs today, they don't have a career or more a calling, a true vocation. You are one of those very, very few people who help others find out what's so important for them and live their very best life. What a deal. Anyway, I'm feeling the gratitude today, and I thought I'd share it with you to wake you up should you kind of fall into the stupor of struggling with developing yourself as a better coach, or because you're challenged by this client or this situation or something else in your life. Hey man, you got it really good to be doing this in your life. So anyway, I'll look forward to catching you another time soon. All right, peace.
Listen, Richard Grove is one of a kind. I mean, he's a fantastic researcher. He knows his stuff inside and out. There's not a conversation I heard in how many weeks, 13 weeks, that he wasn't able to advance in some regard concerning historical understanding. Got a great way about him is, hey man, I get that's hard and blah, 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 but you did this and you did this. So you're growing. Do you see that? And that's a really, really important thing to do, because you're needing to prove to people, give them evidence to see you are growing, you are getting better, you do understand this. Now, what else can you do? And he's got a real gentle but clear and, gently firm way of doing that with people.
Through the Peace Revolution, through Grand Theft World, into into Autonomy, and then into Grand Theft World, his dedication to his research over so many years has certainly given him a very good foundation on which to draw.
Alrighty. So just wanted to show a couple of clips of Ron discussing a little bit of his autonomy experience and a little bit sharing with us about what his job is. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Ron Renaud. Hi, Ron.
There you are. Hi, Ashley. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very excited to be speaking with you today.
Good. Likewise. Likewise. It's always a delight to be here and to talk to anybody who's from autonomy and to support Richard and his vision. And yeah, so it's a blessing to be here. Thanks.
Amazing. Yeah. And I actually remember hearing you speak whenever I was coming in as a new season 10 student. And you certainly made an excellent impression on me. And so very nice to be speaking with you.
Great.
So why don't we talk a little bit about how you got to and found autonomy, and then and a little bit about your personal journey as well, about getting into your coaching business and your uncompromising accountability.
Sure. Sure. I'm thinking of okay, I'll start from the beginning. I won't start that far back, but I've been coaching for 25 or so years. I've been training coaches around the world for a little over 20 years, and I mean, there's a lot more to be said. If anybody had a question, that's fine. I just don't want to go into too much detail with that. But a few years ago, I reached out to Richard because I wanted some help to figure some things out and to market my business a little bit differently and to poke around and see what was possible with some other things. We all get into a place, I think, if you're in business for yourself, where even if you're a window washer, it's like, okay, I've done this for 10 or 15 years. I want a new challenge. I want to do something else. What's the next? And even more for my work is, it's so personal and person driven. Okay, who is it that I really have a heart for and really want to make a difference for right now? And, marketing to those to a new niche, a new group was going to take some expertise and some thinking some things out. And it's funny because I had only seen some of Richard's stuff here and there over the years, but immediately he struck me as a guy. Okay, he calls himself a forensic historian. I wouldn't have used those words, but that would have been my perception. Him, George, James Corbett, and G. Edward Griffin are three names that right away I go, okay, if they're saying it, you can count on it. They're not just messing around. They're not putting stuff out there. They can back it up. So came Leah, who's on this call, had mentioned that Richard is really good at helping people go to the next level and do this sort of thing. And so I thought, I'll talk to Richard. And so he and I had a really nice conversation. I don't know, we talked probably for about an hour actually, and we ended up doing some business together. And then I ended up joining for season 7. And at the risk of going on too long, I'll say another couple words, and I'll leave it open for your questions or anyone else's if that's appropriate. But I've been in business a while. I know how to do sales. I have no problem talking to people on Zoom or in person. My wife laughs that I'll, walk up to a garbage man. I'll walk up to a congressman and be like, "Hey, how's it going? What's it like to do?" And just off I go. It's like, I'm easy that way. But the thing that I really appreciate about autonomy and Rich's work is it doesn't really matter where you come in. There may have been repetition, redundance, for me, but that may have been week 1 and 2, and then all of a sudden little holes that I had start getting filled in as I went along, and that was something I really really could appreciate. And there's a little bit of, I'm 51 years old, and though I'm not old, I'm certainly an older dog in this thing, and it's a little bit of old dog new tricks type thing. And Rich has got a great way about him where, you heard me talk about in that little testimonial I did, where it's like, all right, yeah, that's hard, but you got to get to here. You want to do this and that. So what are you going to do? It's like, there's no time to be moaning and crying or complaining or telling your story. It's, little time for it. And then it's time to get moving if you want something new. So I really appreciate his way of being and the atmosphere that's created in the autonomy community. So and here I am. Why? Because I know it matters. I want to make a difference, and I want to, hopefully encourage some others to take part in it because it's made a difference for me. It's made a difference for others, and it's a great community to be part of. So, if you're kicking it around, stop kicking.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to be able to speak with with graduates from sort of the whole spectrum, right? Of people who are really coming in on that journey of self-discovery to people who are in your situation where you really have a good gig that you love. You're not necessarily looking to transition your career. You have a good business, but there's still some things that you want to work on to help take you
Right.
to the next level. So is that something that you could tell us about? You said that you had maybe found a couple of holes in your thinking or in your practice. So can you go over, maybe give us a couple of examples of what autonomy helped you do, someone who was already established but looking to level up?
Yeah, and you're going to forgive me. I'm not going to remember anything offhand. It was sort of one of those things that sneak attacked me when I'm just like, okay, talking to people and having a sales meeting or whatever it might have been, the language that was used. I'm like, yeah, I know this stuff, and then I just be kind of listening, and oh, wait, what was that? And then it's a real, oh my gosh, it was a new
So,
thing or a new twist or something.
right.
Yeah, and so it was those little sneak attack moments. And the truth is, people obviously know now I'm a professional coach. This is what I do for a living. I've worked with literal billionaires, professional athletes, people who are in recovery for drug and alcohol addiction. So, a wide range of people. And, there's a little bit of this isn't my first rodeo. I've done this before. And regardless of who I work with, I always tell them a couple things. One is, no matter where you are, to get to the next level, it's going to be, you're just going to have to adhere more closely to that which you say is holy or important. And so in some ways, right, there's nothing new under the sun, but what a good coach does is helps you see, you said you want this, you're doing these things. What are those things that you need to do to close that gap? Right. And so that's my job. And that's in many ways, though Rich is not coaching per se, he's throwing so much information at you. And then when you do have those little coaching moments in the calls, it's a little bit of a, yeah, he'll engage with people. Okay, well, what did you learn? What'd you get away? What'd you walk away from? What'd you walk away with from this call? Okay, what do you now know? And he starts to know people really personally and what they're up to, what they're up against, their challenges, the way that they, like I said in my video a little while ago, BS themselves a little bit. Um, and then you get called out on it. Because at the end of the day, I don't care whether you're worth $1 billion, you're close to God, you got a great wife or husband or whatever your thing is. If you want to get to the next level, you're going to have to get better at those things that you're already doing well and close some gaps and some things that you've not done well. And so, I like I said, I don't recall precisely what those learnings, if you will, were, but those moments came. They maybe weren't in the first call for me. Like I said, the second call, there was a couple little bit, and then after that, the sneak attacks came. So
Right. So basically, just sort of like new nuggets that you were finding in every lesson where you knew a lot of the information, but there was these gems that helped you tie it together a little bit more, like your picture and your approach and things like that.
yeah, new nuggets. And the other thing too is if you come, there's a great saying that the only Zen you find at the tops of mountains is the Zen you bring there. So, you think you're going to make $1 million here with a, poverty consciousness. You think you're going to find your life's calling, and you're like, then you're just not going to find it. But if you're openly looking and wanting and hungering, you're going to find something that you can take action on. And so even if it wasn't something new, I wanted something new. I wanted to get something out of it. And it was like, oh, wait, right. I totally forgot about that. That's what I need to do now. And then it's worth the price of admission right there. If you'll do something with that, that could be a $10,000 reminder right there. Well, what are you going to do with it? You're going to put it to the side and, get busy and have a bowl of ice cream, or you're going to do something with that. So,
Right. So and I was telling people at the beginning of this, so when they sign up for autonomy, they actually get access to your course, the
right.
your accountability course, which is really interesting because it sounds like a lot of your values were already in alignment with the autonomy values,
Yeah.
right? Of self-improvement, but you have to show up for yourself, and then the accountability piece. And then, so they work together harmoniously to really solidify that piece of it, but also the fact that what we're here for is to show up for ourselves and to not quit on ourselves and to keep moving forward in our journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, so like I mentioned how Rich acts as a coach, and I know that, Kara does some coaching along with that people can also procure her as a coach to usher people along their journey, to more personalize it, and create a little bit more intensity if you can handle the heat. Um, so that's out there, absolutely, because you mentioned that program I did. That was so much fun to create, and it really put me on edge because, or what when we say it, as Rich says, triggered some complexity for me
Complexity, yes.
because the last thing I wanted to do was to present to my people, freedom loving, truth loving, people that hunger for the best. I didn't want to do something mediocre, and so it really challenged me to bring out my best. And so, you know, like I said, the Zen that you find at the tops of the mountain is the Zen you bring there. So it called out the best in me, whether it's you showing up on calls and asking for what you need, or doing it in a smaller venue with Kara, or partnering with other folks. You can come and get what you need here. So
Absolutely. And I actually was one of the participants in Kara's coaching this past season. So that was
great.
very, very lovely. Yes, very beneficial for myself. So, what challenges did you personally find in going through the course? Or did you feel like it wasn't challenging because it was something that you wanted to show up for?
Well, yes, I mean, sort of, being a little silly here is, oh, it's gonna be 8 o'clock here soon. I gotta be starting to wind down. And no, I got an early drive in the morning, so that's true for me today. But I'm good at like 9. You're pushing me 10:30. I'm maxed out. Rich is like rocking strong at like 1:30 in the morning sometimes. So, you know, it's not my prime time. So what I was able to do is, listen and make it work anytime I wanted. And that's nice that I have access to that and still have access to those calls.
Yes.
And, that's one thing that really, really worked for me as well. I mean, all the content is great. All the great other, you mentioned my course, but there's other courses that you get along with this too, that you can put your attention on. And I don't know that these are topics, but, well, I don't even want to flirt with anything, making up stuff, but I know that there's a whole myriad of topics that you can explore from other experts in this community. And that's pretty special. So, that was also
Yeah.
beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. And what other benefits did you find from the community outside of these, the topics that we're focusing on and these gems that you were finding? But what else was there that you were maybe surprised by?
Well, Michael's on the call. Michael Miguel Nimitz is on the call. And,
Yes.
there's Jerry, and there's a few others that I connected with, over that season, which was awfully nice. And, I'm going to be doing here are some of the raw notes. Don't everybody take screenshots and try to do something with this chaos, but, I'm writing a like an hour long to maybe a 90-minute long talk for parents who are looking to really revolutionize oftentimes, but change their relationship with their young men. We all know that there's a crisis with our young men, with our boys, and parents often need support, coaching, a shoulder to cry on. And I've coached plenty of young men, and it's been, such a blessing and a privilege. But I don't even remember. It was a couple months ago. I was kicking this around and feeling a little bit of how do I make this work? I don't know, and feeling in that little bit of a question. And I reached out to Michael and had a nice conversation with him and a little encouragement. I reached out to Leah Boone and had a great conversation. She and I just got together a couple weeks ago, again, and it's wow to have a community of people that are on the same page and who right away just want to find a way to make your dream or make what you want work. That's fantastic. In fact, Leah said, well, hey, you've got the autonomy community. When you're ready, just present it to us. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. So, I'd put $50 on the idea that when I'm ready, maybe in 2 weeks, if I want an audience, the bushes will get shook and there'll be people there, at least this many people,
Yeah, for sure.
right, who will be there to say, that was awesome, or okay, it was good, but I'd need more of this or more of that, or I got lost here. And then I'm going to get loving feedback, but I'm going to get honest feedback. And that's I don't want to say priceless to sound sort of hyperbolic, but it has a lot of value. I mean, surrounding yourself with excellent people to begin with, but people who can give you that level of feedback is pretty special.
Yeah, amazing. I agree with that. And I think that, it's something that I was talking about the other day, that you are going to find people in autonomy trying to improve themselves all hours of the day. It doesn't matter if it's 10 a.m. on Sunday morning or 10 p.m. on Monday night or Tuesday night or Friday night or whatever that may be, you know, and that it's different. It's special. It's something that you don't just find everywhere. And not that other people in your life aren't special, of course, but this is a place for you really to personally level up. And yeah, so it's really nice to hear you, even someone who was well established in your business and very good at their job and felt like they had found their life's purpose, but you still got benefit from this. So it's pretty special to hear that.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah. Okay, well, I did want to open up the floor to see if anybody had any questions. Ron is not able to stay too late. He has to get out and make a trip really early tomorrow, so we really appreciate his time. But if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to join in.
I'm either so not compelling or so thorough. We're not sure. Hard to say right now.
I'm going with very thorough.
All right.
I'm kind of curious. You might have something to present in 2 weeks. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I'm doing something, Jerry, on I'm using a working title of what is my working title? One Uncompromised Man. And it's to basically encourage and inspire parents to kind of unlike Sisyphus, to push that rock up that hill, but push it over the edge and hold, or get it to a place where it can hold. Because, I don't know that you're a dad, but moms and dads out there, certainly of young ladies and young men, but this is about young men. So of young men find themselves oftentimes overwhelmed, helpless, confused, frustrated, gutted by what's going on with their sons, and that it's like, wait, they were a year ago or 4 months ago, they were cuddling me on the couch at 13, and now they're mad at me and blaming me. And now there are so many influences. And one of the lines that I wrote about in this presentation is that, when you don't have kids, you can look at at a restaurant, like, those parents ought to get that kid under control. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty easy to say at 25, no kids, and all you got to do is look at your girlfriend and smile, and she smiles back, and like, that's the power and control that you have in the universe. Try to do that to somebody who's really autonomous, isn't concerned about looking good in any given moment, and has his own will or her own will. It's a little different game. Even more so, the power that culture has on all of us and each of us, and these young minds that aren't developed. So yeah, this is about inspiring parents to respect, just like you would respect any adversary. Well, George Washington, he didn't, I don't think he originated the quote, but he certainly said the quote at one point, that government is like fire, a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Culture is probably interestingly the same way. And, to give parents a little sense of grounding of, this is where we are. This is the milieu in which we are parenting. Have a healthy respect for it. And now that we know what we're dealing with, what do we need to do to, take charge of ourselves and of our parenting? So yeah, I don't know that it's going to be in 2 weeks, but in a few weeks, I certainly would love to do this presentation for everybody. And like I said, open to feedback. And yeah, I've got some cool marketing ideas I came up with, and my wife is a brilliant marketing mind. And so I'll be open to feedback as well for how to get in front of more folks doing this. I've got this idea about doing it in front of like young Republicans or something like that. I don't think the young Democrats are into, messages of personal growth and DEI being like, do your best, who gives a crap what you look like? And, I'm already like a racist for that already, so I'm probably disqualified. But, getting in front of some organizations at colleges as well to give an encouraging message, because, I do get on the soapbox with this, so I'll be brief with this. But how many, you go to YouTube, and I know we've probably all indulged in, Ben Shapiro burns stupid liberal, and, Dinesh D'Souza rips apart. And it's like, okay, as long as we're playing the right left game, do we not know that we're still losing already? That it's, the blue team and the red team and two wings on the same bird of prey. And without even going into that with people, we're all human beings who want to live well and have love and a sense of, well-being. And I'd love to go to colleges where the protests and the nonsense are and go, hey, 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 what are you doing? What are you protesting? What's really going on? Well, you're racist. All right. Yeah, but do you have any evidence for that? Let's just break it down. And without having to burn anybody or make anybody feel bad, I'm a big fan. I say no feel bads required. I'll take shame. I'll take a little guilt, just enough though to have you go, oh man, I dropped the ball, or oh man, I've been ignorant of this, but now I know. Great. What are you going to do? Because now you're empowered to do better. Nobody's got to feel bad and burn the guy. And I kind of have this fantasy about being in a, say, chiefly Republican, if we go that way, group of people and saying, hey, 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 just because this guy believed this, or just because this guy's this, and just because his hair is that, who cares? He now knows something. You better welcome him in as a brother, otherwise you're the problem. And open people's eyes to how to create actual harmony and actual love in this world, rather than by the division that's being served up to us in a million ways. So anyway, yes, Jerry, there's the answer to your question. I'm doing something in a few weeks, and I'd love to have you and anybody else who wants to join.
Absolutely. I know so many people who would be incredibly excited to hear that and have an opportunity to speak with you and hear your presentation. So that'll be
Thanks,
amazing.
Ashley. Thanks for the encouragement.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions for Ron? Okay, well, if we don't
I,
have any questions, oh,
I suppose I'll
any-
throw one out.
oh, perfect. Thank
You
you.
know, Ron, you didn't mention your book, and I consider your book probably one of the top five. I don't know if you want to call it the self-help category,
Sure.
but your book is really top notch, and it's beautiful and it's simple. But do you mind talking a little bit about that? Because
Sure, sure. My wife tells me I'm the worst at marketing myself, and I kind of am, but I'll indulge. Thank you, brother. This is my book. It's called Uncompromised: When You're Ready to Live Your Life on Your Terms. And um, what do I want to say about it? I'll say that the book was mostly written, and I was stuck. I knew there was something, there was some message, some glue, something that needed to hold the idea together. And I stopped writing for a few days, and I went to New York City to do some teaching. I think I mentioned I teach coaches all over the place, and a homeless guy was asking for some money. And I'm not sure how you handle that, but sometimes you give money, sometimes you're like, oh man, the dude's going to buy alcohol. And over the years, what I've decided to do is, well, if I'm near some place that we can get food, then I'm saying like, oh, come on in, I'll get you the food, because that way I know he's going to eat it, or you know, he'll use well what I've given. Anyway, he came in, and I said, here's the deal. You tell me the story, how you got here and what's going on, and I'll buy you breakfast. Get whatever you want. And I got my lox and bagels and capers and onions, and I was a happy boy. And this guy got whatever he wanted, and we sat down and talked, and he told me his story and how he got here. He came up to New York because of a woman, and he was from the South, and he did this and that. And he said, I just, I fell into this trap and this, and it just, you know, I just know that I need to stop. Oh, yeah, that's what it went to is I listened to him and kind of pushed back on a couple of things. And I said, hey, man, what's one thing you could do today that if you did this would start the ball rolling and change your life? He said, to not drink today, just today. And I said, okay. And I said, I believe that you won't do that. And I said, okay. So, and I gave him $20, if I recall, and said, do what you got to do to take care of yourself today. And, whatever, the meeting ended, and it wasn't some glamorous thing. And I actually note this in the book too, that, we kind of want to hear a happy ending. What happened with this guy? What did he call you back? Did you see him at a speech 12 years later? And it's like, nope. And to me, that's the open question. His name was Thomas. Did Thomas compromise? Did Thomas compromise on his best self? Did he fall down? Did he ever get help? Did he put himself in front of a coach? Did he grab allies around himself to support him in his new endeavor? Or did he fall? And the same thing with you and I. There are things that you and I know that we need to do. what are we going to do with those things? Are we going to pretend we're busy and I got tired and, I'm sick to my stomach today and well, it's Monday and, what if all these reasons that we have to not do what we know how to do? Or are we going to say, okay, that's enough. Enough's enough. I can't compromise. I can't live a compromise. I can't buy the compromise. I can't live inauthentically anymore. And I'm done. And so that story really kind of catalyzed so much of what you could read in the rest of the book, and that became chapter 1 to really set the tone for the rest of the book. So I'm a big fan of, like I said, nobody's got to feel bad, nobody's got to feel shame beyond that impulse or that catalyst to change, to do something to get the ball going in the right direction. But too often, the world tells us, yeah, you're a scum, you're old, you're a Democrat, or you're to this, or you're to that. Oops, I've got action here. Hotline. Um, you've got this going on to that, and it sweeps our legs out from underneath us, and we start to believe it. And that's why, again, back to the autonomy community, surrounding yourself with excellent people who, maybe not everybody's a trained coach, but they're good people who want the best out of you and for you. And those are rare people to come across. So yeah, there's a little bit about my book. Thanks, Michael, for that prodding. And Sarah, I know that looked like you were popping on, and I don't know if you had a question as well. I don't want to end before.
I I was trying to formulate it in a way where it didn't sound so obvious. Just a moment, Marcus. That's my 4-year-old son. I love
Marcus,
I love the work that you're doing. It sounds, I haven't read it, but I love the idea of it, and I get the value of it now as a mom,
good.
particularly. My husband does men's work, I do women's work, and between the two of us, I'm hoping for the best with all my kids, but my son especially right now. One of the things that you said earlier was that autonomy really challenged you to bring out your best, and that you didn't want to do a mediocre job for the community. And I wanted you to say more about that, because I'm wondering if this is that thing where this is the Zen that you're bringing to the top of the mountain, or is it that every single one of us has some of this that we're bringing to the mountain? So I just wanted you to talk more about that.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, the Zen bit is, I mean, certainly it could be applied to the workshop I did, but I think about the Zen is, if I came into this just like phoning it in, like, yeah, I know most of this and, whatever. And yeah, it'd be nice to kind of hang out with everybody and, talk to Rich and see what he does. And, it's like, I would have gotten nothing out of it. It would have been it would have been just laborious to listen to the calls. And that just wasn't my experience. I'm gonna see if I can come back around to the Zen regarding the workshop. But I want to say that the calling out the best and me wanting to bring my best to the workshop was, I knew Leah from a sort of a past life. Having met Rich and knowing how he rolls, I know myself and how I roll, and I didn't want to phone it in a little bit. It's like, I'm doing this for autonomy. No one outside of autonomy likely will ever see this. Doesn't matter, whatever. You know what? They'll know. It's like, I can do solid. And these people who don't know what coaching is for the most part, likely, will think like it's good. Yeah, that was good. And I didn't want anything like, as soon as I start going down that road, like I stretch, I've been the tightest guy in the world. I'm not the tightest guy in the world anymore, because I've been stretching like a crazy man for the last 4 months, because I was determined enough's enough. I can't talk about this anymore. And every time I start to go to this one stretch that I can't stand, I just up my energy. And because if I start thinking about it or debating whether I want to do this, it turns into a debate, and then I don't stretch. Same thing with this workshop. As soon as I found myself I went, no, overwhelm the problem. It's time to make this outrageous and get way over the top. And so I did it. I practiced it. I worked it out, and then I delivered it. And I think, there was one part where I missed a whole chunk and I had to re-record. That actually was a good example too. I think it was in the third one. I was going and going, and all of a sudden I started getting confused. I'm like, how did I draw this conclusion right now? This doesn't make any sense. And somehow I think it was my Adobe, or no, my PowerPoint would occasionally, if I'd click, it would just like skip a bunch of slides. And so I went to something just smoothly, because that's what you got to do, kind of vaudeville, just do your thing. And I realized, oh no, this didn't make any sense. Hold on, everybody. And I was, thank you, Autonomy, doing it live. So I was like, all right, hold on, guys. I think I skipped a whole bunch. And then I went back, kind of recut up to what I did. And so the people who watched it live were able to catch on and get the value. But after I hung up, I was like, I did one of these things of, I have to re-record that like 45-minute chunk or whatever it was. And then I thought, oh, do I really have to? Okay, maybe I don't have to. Nobody. And I went, oh, just settle with reality, Ron. You have to do this over again. And you got to hope your PowerPoint for whatever's going on with it just works so you can smoothly do this in one take. And then that's what I did. And it is something that I am proud of. And in fact, I thought, I got to watch that again because I mean, I can just pull up the PowerPoint and play with those things again. But I thought, I felt really good about what I created. And, both in terms of the insights, as well as the presentation. And then it adds a little cherry on top to know that, like in that third one, that I didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. And of course, all those moments make you more of the man or woman that you're supposed to be here on Earth. And so I'm grateful to have had that opportunity as well. So in that regard, if we're going to talk about the Zen and mountaintops, yeah, I wanted to get to the mountaintop. And what Zen did I bring? Shut up and do it, Ron. It's hard. Good. Do it hard then. And that was the Zen I brought. It's not quiet and contemplative. It was grinding and sweaty. So, but sometimes that's the Zen that's required, I think.
That's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, especially
Yeah.
hearing working until you're proud. And it sounds like you were able to really distill the value that you bring through the repetition in front of autonomy. Super cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Yeah. And of course it's the audience you're in front of as well. I mean, let me say one more thing here. It was, I just saw something recently where it doesn't matter. I'll say from my own experience, this speech I'm giving, I do it in my mind. I'm feeling passionate and I know I'm on the right track, man. I'm feeling it. And my wife said something about, well, you got to make sure you add this. I said, my gosh, I'm going to add that and a whole lot more. I just need an audience. As soon as, when you find what you love and you're excited about, providence move, God moves, circumstances move, you see opportunities you didn't have before. And that's because when you're pouting and cranky, there's all sorts of doors going on, but opportunities don't present themselves to pouty, cranky guys. They're there. You just don't see them. And so, yeah, it was this audience helped bring out my best. So I'm grateful to all y'all, as my cousins in Texas say, for that gift as well. So, it becomes very reciprocal, I think. Actually, I don't think that's weak. It becomes very reciprocal.
Ron, I have a question. There was a point when you wanted to kind of change your clientele and, you had a different kind of vision about the people you wanted to serve. But I noticed that after you went through autonomy, you were sort of reinvigorated with the expertise and the clientele that you were working with. Were those insights that you gained from things that you were inspired by in autonomy, or what was your process for being able to kind of like reinvigorate yourself into your career?
There's so I taught a coaching course in Sweden, Malmo, Sweden, I don't know, 15 or 17 years ago or something. And I love telling the story. I got the worst coaching in the world in Sweden that day. There were newer coaches, no problem, but there's a part of the workshop where one of the people teaching is in front of the room, and they sort of tag team every few minutes. They swap out, and a new coach comes in and picks up where the last one left off. And I got this insight that I've just kept with me forever, which is, even bad coaching, if you've got a hungry client, can produce an outstanding outcome. And I won't, I'm happy to share it if anybody was interested, but the insight I got came from me going, privately, that was the worst coaching ever. all they needed to do was X, Y, Z, and then I would have done 1, 2, 3. And I went, oh, wait, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. And so for me, what happened when I went through the process, it wasn't like Richards was the worst marketing thing ever. And so, no, it wasn't that. But what happened was I went through the process and then taking full responsibility, I was all in and I'm like, no, it's not that. It's this over here. And I was a little back and forth. And finally, I got what I needed. And, we completed that part of our relationship. And I became reinvigorated with what I was doing. It's like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And honestly, if I look back at, it's sort of like a story, any narrative. I used to tell the story of me and my first wife. We met in 5th grade. We were best friends. She was the girl that was the go-between between the girl that I really did like. And then finally that Bonnie Raitt song, Let's Give Him Something to Talk About. We were always together laughing, having a good time, and bang, and we were together. And how could we ever? And that was the story that was supposed to go on. Well, a divorce happened without my consent. And that story changed. So then the story all of a sudden becomes this happened, that happened. But then after the divorce, I rediscovered something new about myself and found a woman who blah, blah, blah. And now right. So the story builds. It's not the end. The same thing with me is it could have been like, well, I was reinvigorated and then and then what? And then I went on for a couple more years until I kept coaching and making money and providing value. And then I found after my boys turned 19 years old and 20 years old, that this was so hard and so important. And what I needed wasn't available. Yeah, there were therapists. I hired a therapist for a little while to contextualize some stuff, but he wasn't a good coach. He just told me a few things. And then that was the value. That was it. Okay, good. That's the old 1951 telephone that I don't know how to turn off. So we're relocating so we don't have to hear that. I've got the Course of Empire from Thomas Cole. Everybody should look up the Course of Empire. It's a great piece of art, 5-piece of art that tracks the course of an empire in the background now. But oh my gosh, phones and Thomas Cole. What was that? What was the last thing I was saying about
how your boys became like
yes,
older and
thank you, Leah. Yeah, and so what happened was as my boys got older and I realized I wanted some support and I realized, how much, and I've been coaching a few young men, how much that meant to me. I came to this next stage, which is I am so clear that I'm going to be supporting parents of young men and making a focus to start coaching more young men. And lots of parties going on here. And so where do I thank autonomy for that? Yeah. Do I thank my mother and father who had this other conversation? Yeah. Do I think so? It's a culmination. And like I said before, it's surrounding yourself with excellent people who will point at things and if not hold you to account like a coach or a, pain in the butt brother or something like that. Certainly is there to catch you when you fall and to remind you of who you are and to, razz you and poke you to prompt you to be your best. So yeah, in that regard, autonomy certainly had its place in my evolution.
Well, it was wonderful to see you. It's been wonderful to see you evolve, and you're pretty amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Thanks for being part of my evolution and a friend.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ron. I just want to throw out there, if anybody else, one last question for Ron. He does have an early day. So, but if you do have a question or comment for him, please feel free to chime in here. I did get a message in the chat that that somebody here took your course and that it was fantastic. So thank you for that feedback. You know who you are.
Thank you very
But
much.
yeah, so well, if we don't have anything else, Ron, I want to sincerely thank you so much for your time today. I know you're extremely busy, but I really appreciate you talking about your autonomy journey and your personal journey and what you got out of the class and just taking your time to be here with us today. We really, really appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. And it can be sort of rote to say it's a privilege, and I mean it sincerely. So thanks for having me, and perhaps we'll cross paths again another time.
I hope that we do. I really do. I mean that.
You have a lovely night, and thank you everybody for your time, and good luck with your autonomy journey.
Thanks so
Ron.
much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Ron. You too.
Very
Thank you.
welcome. All right. See you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. All righty. So that was really amazing to hear from Ron, and I do hope to I definitely am going to go over his class again and check out his book. So thank you for that recommendation, Michael Nimitz. And before we go into some other discussion and questions, I wanted to go over what we have coming up. So we do have, bear with me while I go through the adventures of screen sharing once again. So we have our season 11 coming up, and that is starting March the 15th. And if you join now, you get a 10% discount. So I want everyone here who's a new student on this call to know that you do get that discount, and we do have class coming up. And I also want you to keep in mind any questions that you might have for us. I want to go over a couple more things before we get into the rest of our Q&A. So the other autonomy events that we have coming up is our VIP summit, and I do have a graphic to share for that. A very lovely graphic. So that is coming up on February 24th. So that's Saturday, February 24th at 12 p.m. And that's going to be featuring Richard Grove, John Bush, Ryan Christian of The Last American Vagabond, Jay Dyer, Jordan Page, Mark Passio, and more. So please do not miss out on this. This is going to be a lot of fun for all of us who are in attendance. And the other thing that I wanted to let everyone know is that when you log into your University of Reason account, you're going to have access to some information on, it's a brochure that can answer your basic questions about pricing and things like that. And I want to make sure to encourage everyone to sign up for your blueprint call with Lisa. This is going to be, honestly, really insightful for you because it can help you sort of come up with your game plan and your approach to your own autonomy journey. Because as we talked about at the beginning of this call, we have people that are all over the spectrum. So people like myself who are really on a self-discovery journey to find out what are we good at, what do we like, what are we interested in, what are our possibilities. And then you have other people that already found their calling, but they're looking to hone and continue to improve their skills with excellent people. So there's something for everybody here. And part of that journey for you is going to be to set up your blueprint call. And I have dropped the link for that to have you speak with Lisa in the chat here. So that is a couple of highlights. I want to go ahead and get into some discussion with our potential students. And I wanted to also let you know, don't forget, I do have some free goodies here before our call wraps up. So make sure you stay with us till the end of the call. All right. Having said that, does anybody have any questions? Or maybe one thing that I want to go ahead and tell you is the new students, one of the main questions is the structure of the course. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to, there are a lot of events happening in autonomy throughout the week, but the main, what we would refer to as the meat and potatoes of the course is going to be our Friday night lecture, which Rich does live every Friday night. The course is 12 weeks long, and then you have 3 bonus lectures that you're given at the end of class. But our Friday night lecture, oh, hi, we have Richard Grove here. Hello, Richard. Thanks for joining us. And I'm going to wait on him to chime in. But in the meantime, we do have our Friday night lecture that starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that normally goes until about 12 or 12:30. And then we have Q&A where you have an opportunity to speak directly with Richard until usually about 2 a.m. All lectures are recorded and they're made available the next day. So if that timeline doesn't work for you, that's totally okay. This is available for international students, West Coast, Australia, Europe, you name it. But the live lecture is at the 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. And then we have our Sunday Q&A that starts at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and normally goes until about 3 p.m. And that's another opportunity to go over any burning questions that you may have from our lectures, but as well as any other questions that you may want to ask, and get some guidance from Rich on. And then the other really important key is going to be the time that during the week that are your integration exercises. So that's whenever you make time to have conversations with a structure with your fellow classmates. So not only does that allow you to get to know your classmates better, but it also allows you to begin really honing your interview skills, which will then lead into practice for sales. So I just wanted to get those basics out of the way. And I did want to see if Richard was available to say hello here. And if not, we can wait on that, no problem. And then I wanted to field some questions. I wanted to field some questions from our new students or potential students. So anybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to chime in.
Hey, Ashley, it's Hannah.
Hey, Hannah, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I just had a minute and I just wanted to chime in with a question that I really wish I would have asked before I started. It's like I knew it was a work at your own pace program, but I didn't understand just how flexible it really is and how cool it is that you can even still show up at the lectures even if you didn't do your coursework during the week, because that part, the University of Reason, is work at your own pace, but that by all means you still show up to the lecture and you still get all the slides and go over everything and still get to do the Q&A and all that. It was something I just, we get programmed to think, if you didn't do this, then you lose. Right. And in this, it's just not like that. There's just so much opportunity for people all the time. It's always a win-win, more. And so being able to go to the Friday night lectures was cool because I got to connect to the community and then hear those slides while I was doing dishes or whatever it was that I was doing. Mom's 3 kids here. But it was awesome to be able to do that. And then I still could go back and keep my own pace through the course. So I wish I would have known more about, asked about how that worked.
Absolutely. That's a great point, that this is made for people who are very busy, for people who, who are super busy with their regular day job and they have children that they have to keep up with, and that they can still have an opportunity to go over this material. And I was not someone who could always go. I couldn't always make it until 2 a.m. on a Friday night. But what I would do is listen to as much as I possibly could. And then I would like to listen to the Friday night lecture a couple of times throughout the week, when I was doing whatever, like you said, washing dishes, walking my dogs, to have access to that material and to hopefully pick it up even more. So that's a very good point, Hannah, about how flexible it is that you can still have the opportunity to catch up and really absorb the classwork and the lectures.
Thanks, Ashley. And the other thing that was really cool by just going outside of that norm that we're taught, and just going ahead and going to every lecture and going to every Q&A is when Richard says you can ask him anything, it really gives you the opportunity, if you're somebody who watches Grand Theft World or, you like to nerd out on history, to be able to have access to somebody who is a forensic historian, who has studied, for many, many years, who's done the work, who's put themselves out there, to be able to just ask a question that's relevant to you now, maybe something you're reading right now, something that you're wondering about right now. That is such a privilege as an autonomy student. And I didn't get that at first. It wasn't until I got to see other seasons, previous season graduates, ask questions. I was like, oh my gosh, I can ask questions that aren't just about the course. This is amazing. We can do problem solving. This is amazing. So I wish I would have understood that more too, because I think it's a total gem to autonomy, is being able to ask those questions.
Absolutely. It's extremely valuable to be able to interact with Rich in the way that we're able to. I mean, this is truly just it's difficult to even put words into the value that I got out of being able to be there, ask questions, get some guidance for where I was going, and hear that same guidance from my classmates. I mean, it was really impactful for me as well. So that's another amazing point, Hannah.
Thanks,
And what,
Ashley. Thanks for doing
thank
this tonight.
you. Absolutely. Thank you. So, it looks like we may have Rich with us.
No,
If so,
I'm here. Thanks for buying me time, Hannah. Uh, my headset's not working, and so if I would have answered, you guys would have heard like whatever was going on in the family room upstairs. So this is very nice. I like these Friday night get-togethers because I'm not lecturing. Usually Friday night is like a marathon for me. So I enjoyed listening to Autonomy Radio. It was bringing back memories of the old days. It was a pleasure to hear Ron, and he's always just such a breath of fresh air wherever he goes because he's got skills that everybody needs. And yeah, I'm looking forward to working more with Ron.
amazing. Thanks, Rich. Thanks for
Yeah, I mean,
joining us.
there's very few people who can text me like, "Hey, I got something on my mind. What's going on?" And Ron's one of those few people that I let into my life like that. So it's always a pleasure, and the help goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And do we have any questions from our potential students? Please, if you do, please feel free to chime in. We would love to hear from you. And one thing that I'm going to be doing is in our chat, I'm also going to give some links. I'm going to start dropping some links for our goodies that we're giving away. And one of the main things I want to let everyone know is that you're invited to an autonomy event tonight after we end. This starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the screening of John Taylor Gatto's Ultimate History Lesson, I believe. And if I got that wrong, my apologies, guys. But it is John Taylor Gatto. And then there is discussion afterward, and autonomy graduates, autonomy students are talking about what you just got to witness. And so please feel free to join that. I'm going to be dropping that link in our chat here.
I think they're watching
And
hour 3 this week.
okay, perfect. Yes, I think you're right that this is the third hour. So I just dropped that link in the chat for everyone. You're invited to join that call, an autonomy event. And this is something that is not uncommon in the autonomy community. So one of the main things is that you want to focus, especially at a beginning, you know, when you're first coming in, on making sure that you can show up for the lectures and do your integration exercises. But then after that, there's a lot to explore within the autonomy community that, you know, and networking and things like that. Okay, so do we have any questions for Richard? Please feel free to chime in if you do. Okay.
I wanted to give a
I
shout out to Leah. I was glad that Ron was able to recall how he and I got in touch because Leah made that magical connection. And she's always making those connections behind the scenes, finding people who need help. Because basically, what we're teaching here is high value problem solving. And the bigger the problems that need to be solved, the more people are willing to pay for those solutions. And a lot of times in life, there's bigger things. People are making purchases, you know, a house purchase, these sort of things. What types of questions need to go into vetting and doing your due diligence? And what are the things to look out for? And who's in the community that has experience in these areas that I can reach out to right now? Leah knows how to like get her fingers on the dial. And, you know, we have a great archive of people from around the world from the past 5+ years. Well, we're almost 6 years. And so there's always people who have knowledge to contribute, and they always draw so much wisdom from the well, they're happy to give back.
Absolutely. Leah is incredible. This community is incredible, and has personally certainly done a lot for me and my personal growth. So thank you, Rich. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you guys. I mean, I came in as you know, a student, and I had my own journey thanks to autonomy, became the director, you know, after a number of years, and you know, thanks to Rich and everything and everybody in autonomy. So I stand on the shoulders of giants, so they say.
Amazing.
It also gives her a better view because that makes her taller.
Guys, I
Okay,
had a
well,
couple questions for Richard that just kind of came to me. Is it okay to jump in?
sure.
Sure thing. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being here. So I had two questions. One is about like dealing with overwhelm. I don't want to go into my whole, personal life and story at the moment. I can do that later. But the first question is just like dealing with overwhelm if I decide to join, because I kind of tend to dip my toes into like a lot of different areas because I'm interested in so much. Like I want to learn. But then, I'll just share. I've dealt with some personal health issues, so that kind of holds me back a little bit, or even a lot at some point. So then I get backed up, and I feel all this overwhelm with everything I feel like I have to do or catch up on. So I was just wondering your thought a little bit on that. And then number two is, have you? I know you guys learn a lot about a lot of different topics here, but have you ever personally or as a group come across equity law and like, because you were talking about buying a house and everything, and like equity law, I mean, a small part of it deals with being able to discharge debts. So I'm not sure if you've ever come across that work and everything it entails, but because I thought it was pretty interesting and something you might have come across before, and your thoughts on that.
All right, those are well-asked questions. I'm going to handle the second part first. And it's a pleasure to say that to do this job, I don't have to know everything. So if I were to come across something like equity law, discharging debts, I would reach into my past and say, what experience do I have here? I know how to handle letters that are sent to you that inaccurately claim debt or assign debt to you that you don't really have, or some third party has bought some debt, those sort of things. I get to the edge of my boundaries of knowledge and experience pretty quick. So then I would tap in someone like Lisa Manfredi, who knows a lot more about that. And then I also have several other resources I can think of throughout the student body, graduate body, who have a lot more experience discharging debts. And some of them used to work on the other side of trying to collect debts. So they know a little bit about how that law works. So then you get an idea of like both sides of the fence. Now you're more ready to tread and meet the obstacle with success. And then if we go back to your first part, overwhelm, it sounds like someone who has high aptitude and the ability to learn various areas of interest can get themselves into trouble. And many of them find their home here at Autonomy. So you're not alone. A lot of people are overwhelmed. They scatter themselves with things that they're interested in, but those things that they're learning don't necessarily add up to making goals happen in their life. So then what we do is we take a step back, say, what are you really trying to do over the next year? And then let's assign your studies and your allocation of attention and consumption accordingly, so that you're learning each week how to overcome an obstacle that's in your way, and you enjoy that satisfaction, fulfillment, the self-confidence that comes with that. And as you slowly start working forward, then it's a lot easier to say no to the things that don't have anything to do with your projects or goals, and to say yes to the things that do have to do with your projects and goals. And then you can find that kind of like a ladder that manifests in front of you each step of the way, because it's being built with the actions you're taking. So I don't know, it's not the best metaphor, but I mix them live every week, and they are fresh. See, I was also scared because if I don't do a good job answering your question, no one else is going to ask a question. Then everyone goes away with questions and no answers, and that's not good.
I thought that was great. Thank you for answering those.
Yeah, and so if you do have questions about equity law, you should get the free blueprint, this blueprint strategy call. Like, that's going to give you a better plan for the next year anyway, and it's going to put some stuff in front of you that's like, okay, do you see this? Do you see this? What do you think about this obstacle? Do you think you're doing this to hold yourself back? These sort of things that come up during that conversation, you get a much better plan of clarity. And everything here is full transparency, informed consent. Like, no one who has questions pulls their credit card out of their pocket. We always make sure that all that good stuff is done, because we don't want people participating in something that they don't understand. And it makes it a lot more fun on the other side when you're getting what you expect.
When I did
Even if
my
you, yeah,
blueprint call, I totally told Lisa about Like
Everything.
Lisa Manfredi. Yes, I totally told her everything. I was like, okay, here's my plan. I want to be able to do this. How can I do this? Here, help me figure this out. And she like gave me links to like this budgeting thing. And like I went on her wealth battle site. Like, so I mean, you're getting in front of like the perfect person if you have like pretty much any question in that area. Like
And,
just to be
if
able to sit down
autonomy,
and be
yeah,
like be around her and have that'd be rad.
yeah. And if autonomy's not right for you right now, she'll tell you. She's not in the
Yes.
business of making people do stuff that they're not supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get a better plan, you get some options. Maybe it's right now, maybe it's right later, but at least you find out and you have a more constructive map to work from.
Also, Peter, I was just having a conversation with one of my colleagues here, a very close friend of ours. He's actually just created a course in this type of thing. His name is Jonathan Rogers. He used to be with the group Pantera del Oro, and we were just talking about getting him as a guest speaker for this season. Him and his wife, Rebecca, just created a brand new course on discharging debts. That's what they teach. And we were just synchronistically, Martin was just saying to me, Leah, we have to bring this into autonomy. And I said, we can do it as guest speakers and we can get Jonathan to come and do it. We also did this entire, like we almost did a webinar at this previous place, him and I worked together. And we met like every single expert who does like lawful type of practices. They know how to use that system. And so we're talking about bringing that in as an element through the guest speaker program. So very synchronistic that you mentioned that actually.
It's really cool information and topic to learn about.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, actually we know someone who was able to get his Sesui KV account opened, which is, you hear stories about it sometimes, but we actually know somebody that did it, and he did it through their program. So it would be pretty cool for people to be able to have access to that.
For sure. I had another quick question for Richard and I guess anyone else too. Um, it's personally related in terms of like, you guys mentioning the breakthrough call and kind of planning out your next steps and everything. But my my personal focus, or I really think my next step should be to really hone in on my career and finances because I've kind of let that slip a little bit. Um, so I obviously want to eventually build my own business or multiple businesses, and that would be the end game. But I think to bridge or at least to feel a little bit secure in the near term or even the medium and long term is to bridge with a like a remote job that I can have some kind of consistent income. I mean, so I was wondering in terms of like the next step for that, do you guys talk about or cover like interviewing at all? Is that a topic?
I'm laughing because it's the first major exercise that students learn. So I also forgot in part one of your question, you had talked about health challenges and stuff like that. So I would agree. What you want to do is you want to focus on getting back on balance. Part of that is physical health. Part of that's mental health. And a large part of mental health is through doing constructive activities that we see need to be done in our lives, right? Because then we don't feel like we're behind all the time or all these other pressures that are kind of like imaginary but self-imposed. So the first thing we do is we teach people how to meet other people in a much better way, and we practice that. So you're going to learn how to represent yourself better, be more confident in your speaking, but you're also going to learn the super skill of listening. And it's hard to teach listening, but we do a pretty good job of teaching people about it because the exercises from the interview build into the later problem solving and sales exercises, which are the conversations we need to have either to make our offer to the market or to help people in our personal lives solve problems, because it's really the same thing. Your offer to the market is going to be saying, I help to solve these problems, right? And then having a skill set to back it up, or a way to introduce that, is much easier, because now you have something, that a skill set that you can own, that you have experience in, that we can give you. You know, you're going to work with some people here, probably informally. You can get some testimonials. So whether you want to have a job or you want to strike out on your own later, it's the same core skill set that takes you everywhere successfully. So emboldening yourself to like really get a good strong foundation in a next job move or a career move or any of these types of things, it's going to help with your thinking, your communication, your processing, all around. Like, it's a full spectrum of training that we offer. Because they left out a full spectrum out of our education, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that.
And I just wanted to chime in to Peter as well. I saw people when I came in to the season that were my season 10 classmates, and they were extremely shy, extremely quiet. And it's like, even in a matter of 12 weeks, you could see an unbelievable difference in their confidence, in their excitement about what they were doing, in how they presented themselves, in them, turning their camera on and turning off mute, and being able to really speak and engage and interact with their other classmates. And it's a very rapid change, but it's pretty incredible. And just to be able to see them really blossom, and that, their confidence totally changes. It was pretty incredible to see that.
I mean, just look at the introverts. I'm just thinking last season, like, who are our big introverts? Because Ashley is not an introvert, everybody. Okay. That's why she's here on screens, or she just graduated. Most other people don't move as fast. She's an extrovert, but she's also very plan and goal oriented. So she has this rare mix. A lot of people who have high-minded ideas and are very outgoing lack the planning and details to actually get those things done. So you have to put what we call the sapphire, the high-minded, going out and talking to everybody, party person who can just, they can groove with anybody. Ashley could talk to anybody who comes in his room, right? That's a rare skill. But matching that up with the ability to plan, be there on time, be prepared, all these other things, that's rare. So a lot of the students come in very extroverted, very introverted. There's a mix. There's probably two-thirds introverts, one-third extroverts. And maybe out of that, there's a couple of people who are like the Ruby competitive people, but they don't show up much. They sit in the back, they keep quiet. They're like, I don't need to learn this, but I'm here anyway. That's their attitude, right? They might learn something along the way. There's other people here who are thirsty for a drink, and they're running back to the front of the line to refill their cup, right? So there's a wide spectrum. There's also an age spectrum. There's people who are 17 years old with parental guidance here, with their parents, permission and oversight. And we have people in their 80s. And so we have, a wide trough of fresh water for people who are thirsty. There's not a lot of varieties of water. I guess we have Fiji water. No, I don't know how to mix that metaphor anymore, but if there were varieties of fresh water, we would have those. It's like a buffet of fresh water, but it all blends together.
Well, last week's spotlight was Carlos. So he was a season 9 graduate, but even he went back through season 10, and you could even see the difference from him at the beginning, and he already had huge growth from season 9. And then one of our other classmates, Mike, my buddy Mike, he was going through season 10, and he had an absolutely huge change of, really putting himself out there. There's a student-led podcast every Saturday called Do It Live. And he took the initiative, and he decided to do it live and participate in that. And I mean, it's incredible. All right, guys. Well, do we have any other questions for Rich or any of the other students?
We get 10 minutes till movie time.
Yes, got 10 minutes. And I also wanted to let everyone know that I did drop in the chat the link to book your blueprint call. So that's going to be a really important step in your journey. And then the other goodies. So the Learn How My Brain Works workshop that just took place last weekend, that was a 5-hour marathon, pretty incredible work by Rich and the AUTONOMY team. So that's a free goodie for you. You get the AUTONOMY Mindset 1 and 2. I have dropped the links there. Mindset one has a password, anti-fragile, and all of this is going to be available to you in your University of Reason course. And then the 19 essential skills for success. So a lot of free goodies. And then don't forget that you are invited to the Autonomy event tonight featuring John Taylor Gatto. And really his work is an important key of what we start learning right at the beginning of autonomy, which is what the school system, what it was designed for, and what impact that has on us to this day. And some of those layers we really don't even recognize until they're called out in this regard. So just want to let everyone know. So if anybody has any other questions, please chime in. All righty.
I have one. Isn't this
Oh,
course
yeah,
too good to be true?
I
Sounds
agree
too
that
good to be true. And I'd say what you're forgetting is you have to show up for yourself and you have to put some work in. And what kind of work
yes.
is it? Is it ditch digging? No. Is it calculus and rocket science? No. It's like you got to turn around some incorrect thoughts that are counterintuitive to get out of our own way and get some methods that we can call upon in these unknown situations. So when life smacks us upside the head, unwittingly, unknowingly, out of left field, oh, okay, I have a method. Let me go to my method and deal with this problem. It's not a big deal anymore. It's cranking a widget. It's like unlocking your door. You pull out the keys, you put them in, you turn it. Okay, now we're past that problem. Let's go to the next one. And after you get through a series of doors, you get to your goal. Most people quit thinking the doors never end. This isn't for me. I'm not good enough. All these things, negative self-talk takes people out of the game. The scarcity mindset takes people out of the game. But learning how to create abundance around you, the money's not a problem anymore. Now the problem is which problems do you want to focus on? Because there's a lot of big problems in the world. Learning how to
Absolutely.
make
And
your offer to the market is something that it's cruel and unusual that schooling doesn't teach us how to do it, but sends us into the market to do it anyway.
well, one thing that I did want to comment on was when you talked about the cost of the course, one of the things that I really think about, and I truly mean this, is what is the cost if you don't take it? Right? Because that's one of my only regrets is that I didn't take autonomy a lot longer ago. You know, I was happy to be in with go through it with my season 10 classmates. That was special. And those relationships that I formed. But this program has been just such a key in my life. And it is work that you show up for yourself, but it doesn't feel bad. It does not feel like arduous work. It feels like exciting. Like we have Hannah in the chat here, and she every Friday she's posting in class chat because she's excited for Friday night lecture. And it really is that way. I look forward to it every single week. And so I really think that you get used to wanting to show up for yourself and you want to put yourself and as you talk about, Rich, trigger your complexity. It's not always comfortable to do these things, to turn your camera on and come off of mute and to do something live, but it helps you grow a lot in a very short amount of time. So it keeps you wanting to come back.
And when you're saying about the price, I was thinking about it. I learned these skills 30 years ago. I charge the same price today as I paid 30 years ago. I had to borrow that money 30 years ago to do the training to get the skills that I made my living on until I became a whistleblower. And in those 6 years in the marketplace, I made 200 times my investment back on that investment from those skills. I put them to work. I wasn't even that hungry. I was just like, this looks like a better idea than my college degree. Let's do this thing, right? So the opportunity cost that Hannah just mentioned, it's a big deal when we have opportunity that could help us elevate ourselves. And we have to put in some work, yes, but if you put in the work, it does work, right? It's like a
Absolutely.
martial arts dojo. If you go there and do the work, you can learn those skills too.
Definitely. And that's actually, since you brought up the dojos, I was hoping that maybe we could talk a little bit about what are the integration exercises? What does it mean to be in a dojo and to have a quote nerfed up environment to help you?
I think you
If
and
you
Hannah,
fail, you fell
as a
forward.
sensei, that's the first time I've ever said that, right? As a sensei, you and Hannah can take the dojo floor and just like explain the purpose of the workout and what you guys would do. And don't do a full workout, of course, because we only have 3 minutes. But like, go ahead and dig into that because that's an unadvertised facet of the course.
Sure. Hannah, can you come off of mute? or putting her in the hot seat, as they say in
I know I'm
class.
triggering complexity all over the place. Stand down, Hannah. Keep parenting. She's washing dishes or something like that.
Yeah, she's
I got
probably
you.
busy.
All right, so
Okay.
I'll just do it. I'll do it. So the point is, when I had to learn these skills back in 1994, 1995, they could tell me about the skills in the lecture, but you don't own them until you go practice with the other students and you play both sides of that role play. I'll be the customer, you be the salesperson, you be the salesperson, I'll be the customer, these sort of things. And then you learn how to, well, on the first side, you're learning how to have a conversation first. So before you're trying to solve a problem, you need to learn how to meet people. You need to know how to get to a problem and get their approval to help them solve the problem before you even have a chance at solving a problem. So there's a whole lot of steps involved. So you have to learn how to make contact, build rapport, have the conversation to find, can you help them? Or do you need to refer them to somebody else? Like, that's a plumbing issue and we're electronics, right? So in any form of life, you're going to need to be able to establish contact, identify the problem, move through these paces. And it could be fixing your cell phone bill or your cable bill or whatever, like just calling, knowing how to work a customer service line and when you need to talk to a manager and how to ask and what things you have to say to get through to a manager. All those gatekeeper hacks and things like that. Nothing in this course is pushing, persuading, convincing, or conniving. It's all asking questions. It's all coming from a place of respect and voluntary nature. And there are other ways to do the things I teach, and I find those ways to be unethical and outside of the bounds of integrity, and they simply aren't necessary for success, so I avoid them. And that's what the dojo
Absolutely.
worker is about. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of my favorite parts of the class. At the beginning, our workouts or our integration exercises are just interviewing our fellow classmates and having a conversation and getting used to a structured conversation. And then,
So then you get 50 new friends who are
yeah,
super interesting people who have been vetted through a system where no one gets in without passing the obstacle course, talking to Manfredi, and getting a better plan and having time to think about it. Like, even when you do the blueprint strategy call, nobody has ever signed up during that call. You get to figure out all the answers to the questions, but you press the buttons on your own time afterwards of your own free will, because we're not trying to make someone excited and then just get them to click a button. I designed this course to be different than every other course I saw on the market because I went through some of those courses, and the parts that sucked, I did not include in my offering. We've gone to great lengths to make sure we don't have that sort of thing involved with this operation.
absolutely. And those were the integration. It was part of my absolute favorite part of the course. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Every single week. I looked forward to it. Agnieszka, did you want to chime in? I saw her camera was on for a second there. Hey.
I just want, oh my goodness, it's echoing. I just wanted to say hello from the Autonomy House at Acapulco. We're on the beach. I know there's super echoes, I'll keep it short, but my dream of having Richard's face on my wall has come true. So now I have a big, huge poster of Richard on the wall.
I love it. Thank you for sharing.
I better go.
Okay, thanks for
Say hi
chiming
to all
in.
say hi to all the graduates in Acapulco. Thanks,
I will.
Agnieszka.
Okay, see ya.
All righty, guys. Well, as I had said, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Hi, this is Jane.
Hey, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
How are you doing?
You're wonderfully well. Thank you for asking.
One thing I wanted to mention is that even after you've gone through all these courses, you can go back to the next season and you can go all over it again. And it's like layers. You'll just find more stuff. And I've gone through my notes because in between seasons, I had a little bit of like an emergency. And so I actually had to pull from everything that I knew to try to figure out some things, like, how do I help this person in my life who literally, she saved my life before. Now it's my turn to pay back. And it's amazing what you find out about yourself when you have a challenge. You don't necessarily know that it's there. It's like, Peter, you're saying that you have all these different things that, you could do. but then the urgency has to be behind it. What are you really doing it for? Because there's so much, the program is so rich that you don't understand how you've been actually really been affected. And then you don't have to fall into the same traps that you've done in previous experiences in your job or in your relationships or even in business relationships, because there's a lot of game playing in there. I have had enough of that personally myself, but I've been able to sort of identify those things for myself even more clearly and crisply, where I can just tell somebody, you know, this is where it ends. This is the spectrum of what I agreed to help you with, but this is all that I can do for you. And beyond that scope, I probably don't have what you need, or maybe you need to start looking at something else to find out what the real issue is. Because a lot of times, you know, people have intentions of doing good things, whether it be personal or whether it is family related or whether it's a business or a business relationship. But when you go through this program, you gain, it's amazing, you gain a little bit of the wisdom that Richard has to offer, and that he's gone through experiences that really help to sort of unlock the little things, the little things, the reactions that you're sort of programmed to do, but maybe you don't want to do it. Well, why should you do it? If you have your priorities set, you have your intentions, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to know exactly what you're going to do, but you have some direction. And the tools that we learn, and like the sales class, I hate sales still, but I learned an awful lot going through those exercises and kind of embracing the fact that sales is just the word, but it has really nothing to do with actually exchanging products necessarily, but it's actually who you are and you're presenting yourself and what you have to offer and what you can actually find within yourself to offer to the world, and actually take care of yourself at the same time. So this is an amazing experience. If you don't jump on to get in as soon as you can, you're wasting your life. You're wasting the time because you're trying to fix something that has been condensed into a program that actually helps you to understand a few things about yourself that you don't even have to express to other people. But the thing is that you get to explore that in yourself. So, I mean, if there's anybody here that's looking to move into autonomy, I can tell you there's no time to do it except for now. It'll just be more painstaking as you go along. And, you know, the whole thing about what's going on currently in our world, it's about you not doing it and you not achieving your success. So, you know, I'm up there. I don't need to start anything new, but you know, when you start something new, it actually helps to stimulate those around you, those that you haven't even met yet. And then those who have been sitting around you that you don't even really notice, they know these things, they notice these things, and then it helps to inspire them to do something too. You know, for me, illness has been sort of like a thread, and you always equate illness to misery, not being able for you to fulfill yourself. So you have to make it secondary to who you really are. Who do you want to be, and how do you make that expression? So you know, Ashley, you know, she's amazing. I mean, one season And she's already hosting where, there's a lot of people that don't bloom to that point in just one season. But also it takes a level of courage. And it takes a lot of really, really focusing on what you want. If you really want something, how much money are you willing to spend? I can tell you, you'll spend a hell of a lot more money going other places and trying to collect up all the little things that you need. But you can find it here. And there'll be people that will help you along the way. So I'm very grateful for what is offered in AUTONOMY. And, if you need to explore more, look at what we, the various things that are being offered that are in the chat. And, definitely follow up on the next, the Zoom call. So I think that's enough. You don't need to hear more.
Thanks for the kind words, Jane. I appreciate that. And I'm sure people listening appreciate that. And it gave me the idea that I should share something vulnerable about myself, because once upon a time, I didn't have all these skills. Now, I'm going to tell you the story of when I learned to stop making excuses for myself and avoiding the opportunities in front of me. It was when I got these skills. I borrowed the money. I paid $5,000. I'm supposed to go to these training seminars on a weekend. They're like 12 hours long. They're like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or maybe even Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And by like day 3, I'd been, I'm in college at the time. I'm 22 years old. I was out partying the night before. I'm having little indigestion type problems where I'm close to the bathroom all morning, and they call me because I'm not there. And I'm like, I got a really good excuse. I'm tied to the toilet here and I can't get out of here. And they say, we have a toilet here. We'd be happy to let you use it. Right. And then I was like, well, this and that. And he's like, well, I'll be happy to, I'll hold the group for 10 minutes and I'll let everyone know that we're waiting on you. And he applied all these pressure points. Now, we don't do anything like this in this course. Everything's voluntary in this course. But this is how they helped me, a young Richard Grove, get over like making excuses and avoiding what became my destiny. Like, these are the things that I serve people with and help people with. If I had not picked up these skills, I'd be just some other corporate cubicle executive at this point in some cookie cutter cutout house, missing my life. An unexamined life is not living. So learning how to get out of our own way, to show up for ourselves, to get away from the scarcity mentality, to avoid our own excuses is what helps us unveil the purpose and reason why we're here on this planet in the first place. So thank you guys all for coming tonight. This has been a good workout and event. And I'm going to hustle over to the Gatto screening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for coming and joining us. We're really happy to have you. We're doing this again next Friday, so please feel free to join us then as well.